Okay, good afternoon, everybody. We're starting. The meeting scheduled to start today at 4:30 rather than 5. Because we normally start at 5, we're going to hold off on the non-agenda public testimony until 5 o'clock in case somebody doesn't get the word, and so therefore we're going to begin with our meeting agenda, and then at 5 o'clock we will stop for a little bit for non-agenda public testimony. So at this point, if everybody would please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready to begin? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, at this point, this is a non-political statement. Anybody who has not voted is excused and can go exercise your democratic right to vote. I think there's a few people here that are under the voting age.
The polls are open till 8 p.m.
Yes, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Okay, let's move forward with the superintendent report on administrative assignments.
Thank you, President Evans. I have the following appointments to publicize to the community and staff. I'm pleased to inform all that we're appointing Stanley Dobbs to the position of Chief Financial Officer effective 1 December. Sylvia Farrar McGray to Principal Adams Elementary. Diana Sanchez to Principal Longfellow Elementary School. Jose Soto to to Vice Principal Lincoln High School, and Christina Casillas to Vice Principal University City High School. And that completes my personnel assignments for this meeting.
Okay, thank you. Okay, a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved. Second.
Okay, please vote. Passes
Do you need some help there?
unanimously, 3-0. Okay. As I said, we're doing things in a little bit different order. I'll just point out that if someone wants to testify on an item that is on the agenda, that you need to turn in a slip right away to Ms. Ward to my right, so that when that item comes up, you'll be able to speak.
Mr. President, I should say that we are, Mr. Barrera and I had asked to continue, I should have said that as part of the agenda, item G1. And so that item to the 27th. So
okay.
I should have made that.
Okay, so noted. So we will, since you have pulled that, we will move item G1 to the November 27th meeting and continue with the rest of the agenda.
I move the consent calendar unless there's somebody who's pulled anything.
Second.
Any pulled?
Okay, which item are you on
consent
right now?
calendar.
Which?
The superintendent's consent. I move the consent calendar.
The superintendent's consent agenda? Okay, we're taking that in a little different order. Okay.
Oh, we are?
That's been moved and seconded. Please vote.
I move to approve it.
Okay, that passes 3-0. Okay, now we're going to go very quickly, first of all, to item D1, the charter school presentation with O'Farrell Community Charter School, and these are the young people that we heard during the Pledge of Allegiance.
John, you want to introduce the student event?
Sure, I will. So they can hear.
Up on the stage is fine.
Yeah.
We'll come down there.
There's a couple little presentations. They're short. First of all, before we start that, I'd like to thank the board and Superintendent Cobo for inviting O'Farrell down here tonight. I was real impressed with Samantha. Actually, she came to me the very first week of school, I think the third or fourth day of school, and she said, "Hey, I know the Falcon Way." I'm thinking, okay, what's Falcon Way? Trying to memorize it in my mind. So I have her first, and she repeated this without a mistake the third or fourth day of school. Where's Samantha? There's Samantha. Come here, Samantha, please. We'll have her go first, and then we'll have the other kids perform a little song for you. She's going to tell you the Falcon Way. If I can... Come here. Come on down here, Samantha. Come here, hon. Do we have a portable mic, or is this...
I have the power to create a great life for myself. My character is demonstrated through high personal and academic standards. I always behave in a way that brings me closer to my goals of success in life. I respect the cultural differences in my school community. I follow the rules to keep my community safe and strong. To achieve my goals, I will follow the Falcon way of focus, attitude, leadership, citizenship, organization, and nonviolence.
If you want to stand up over them. Mr. Rowell, would you like to come up here? Mr. Rowell's of course, this is our first year of running our K-5. Mr. Rowell is our music teacher. We've actually implemented mandatory music and Spanish throughout the school this year, so they all receive Spanish and music every day now.
Good evening. It's a pleasure to be here. What you see before you are some of our most dedicated 4th and 5th graders, and it's an honor to present to you.
That we need to love. We gotta learn patience to know what's right. We might disagree, but we don't have to fight. Respect is respect, and we need to show. That's why we came together on this song so you can know it. Since we're the future, we're telling you now, all the racism and hatred, we're shutting it down. We live and we learn and we share with one another. That's smile and the things that we discover. And it's all from the heart, meaning nothing but love, and we're gonna make better what was given to us. Don't matter if you're out of town to live on my street, just try to be a friend to worry me and make something for me. Yeah, something for you. Ooh, you show love for me. Yeah, I show love for you. If we take time to see, yeah, this world could be. We could live peacefully. We all could be free.
Thank you all very much. That was really a great performance. And this is an example of just O'Farrell a couple of weeks ago, and they have music in Spanish, but they're also doing very well in the basics, and they had a big sign up that they're above 800 on their API also. Good job, kids. Okay, we will now continue. This is set to be the shortest school board meeting in the 4 years I've been on the board. Okay. Okay. We will now go to item D1, the charter. Item D2, the public hearing to consider the new charter petition for Health Sciences Middle Charter School. This is just the public hearing at this point. Any comments, Moises? Just that it's.
Yeah, I'll just be real brief. The petitioners are proposing to establish a new charter school for grades 6 through 8. At this point, it's public hearing, so there's no action from the board.
Okay, and there are no public speakers. Okay, and we will take action at another meeting. Okay. Item D3, the hearing to consider the charter petition for San Diego Cooperative Charter School number 2, and we have one speaker on this item. Same situation, correct, Moises? Okay.
Right, same situation. Petitioners are petitioning to establish school grades K through 5.
Okay. And we have one speaker, Wendy Rank-Burr.
Good afternoon, Mr. President and members of the board. I'm Wendy Rank-Burr, principal of San Diego Cooperative Charter School, and I'm pleased to present the board and the members of the staff with a petition for a second San Diego Cooperative Charter School. SDCCS2 is our working name. And SDCCS offers a model of education that is in high demand in San Diego. We consistently have hundreds of students on our wait list and even more on our application list. And we're very excited about the potential to be able to open our doors to more students and more families. For your information and within our proposal, we have submitted a request for Prop 39. We are also searching for commercial space, and our school community is open and available for any questions, and we look forward to our future work together as we move forward with this petition. Thank you so much for your time.
Okay, thank you very much, Wendy, and we will also hear that when it comes for approval at another meeting. Okay, item E5, Mr. Beiser, the proclamation for National Parent Involvement Day.
I'd like to move this item.
Okay, is there a second? Second, moved and seconded. Please vote. Okay. Mr. Beiser, did you want to make a comment?
I would like to present the proclamation to the president of the San Diego Unified PTA, Barbara Flannery. This proclamation recognizes November 15th as National Parent Involvement Day. We'd like to encourage all parents to find out from their local schools how they can get involved in helping to support and improve education in all of our schools in San Diego. Hold on just a second. Okay, Ms. Flannery, would you like to say a few words? You're more than welcome to.
Thank you. Thank you for being our honorary chairman of this committee on our PTA. And we want to thank the district for working with us on recognizing how important parents are in the education of their children and joining with us to celebrate this day and also spreading it out through the whole district. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Flannery. Okay, let's move forward to item D4. Ms. Ward, are there any speakers other than the ones on the blue sheet on item D4? Okay, we have a total of 10 minutes available for this. However, mixed fractions are always a challenge in terms of dividing up the time. So basically,
no, they're not.
I'm pretending like they are, Kevin. Okay. So therefore, to simplify things, what we will do is there were 3 people who wanted to that we're going to combine, so that will be a total of 9 minutes, and then 3 minutes for the other person, and that will be close to 10 minutes. So let's start off with the person who was going to speak for Gina Plate, Miles Durfee, and Wendy Rank-Burr. Okay. Just one moment before you speak. Just a comment from the superintendent on this item, so we kind of set the stage. I know that you're familiar with this, but everybody else is not familiar with what's going on.
I think at core here is the consideration for a change in special education fees and service rates relative to the charter schools. In years past, we've had a fairly predictable, stable adjustment for each cost of living cycle that we've had to accommodate, recognizing that costs tend to go up in many different aspects of the school district business, and I'm speaking broadly here, both charter and brick and mortar district schools. Because of some significant changes in revenue streams and enrollment, we face an exceptional or out of the norm rate increase to discuss, and I think that this came up last week or about 10 days ago. We are engaging with the charter schools impacted. I know that the charter school office of the district, as well as special education and the chief financial officer, are working with you. So we wanted to get the issue out in the open here, knowing that there are no decisions tonight and we have a lot of work to do, and we want to come to some equitable arrangements with you. I don't have the quick answers. I know you don't either, but we want to allow for public discussion and move forward over the next couple of days in a very paced manner.
Okay, so Ms. Ward, we have 9 minutes for this part.
And actually, sorry, Mr. President, again, actually, I'm going to make a motion, so the speakers could address it as well as they wish. I am moving that the board direct staff to defer the collection of this particular fee in the charter fees and bring this item back at the first meeting in December.
Second.
Okay, so there's a motion. Okay, we'll now have the public testimony. Go ahead.
Good afternoon. Again, my name is Wendy Rankber. I am the principal at San Diego Co-op, and I am also a principal member of the Charter School Principal Advisory Group. And I wanted to come forward and speak to you today on behalf of all of the charter schools that were impacted by this. We budgeted, just like all public schools budget, based on the numbers that we had back when our budgets were due in the spring, and we budgeted at $9.76 per student. We understand as a charter school community our responsibilities for fair share and contributing our fair share. However, getting notified on October the 22nd with no conversation whatsoever that fee went up to $1,130 per student. It's the largest increase in any fee for service we have from the district that we've ever had in the history of our relationships with San Diego City Schools. It has had a significant and devastating impact on some of the charter schools. And I know that you have a handout that was put together for you by CCSD, and I would like to draw your attention to page 2, the graphs at the bottom. One of the things that has taken people by surprise is the outcry from the charter school community. We are small districts onto ourselves. We have a much smaller pool to deal from. And at my school, I fall into the large school category. I have 450 students. This represents almost $100,000 hit to our budget. And if we only kept the reserve required by law, this would have wiped out our entire reserve. Fortunately, I am one of the schools not in that position, but it is still a massive hit to our budget. So those graphs at the bottom just show you the piece of pie that we're talking about here. And again, it is the second largest piece of the budget from my school, and I fall into the larger school category. So I know that there's much work to be done, and I appreciate the district and the board's response to this, and I welcome future conversations. What I want to encourage you to direct staff to do is when times get tough and things get challenging, sometimes the natural response is to retreat. I would like to encourage all of the staff to be brave and have courage. This isn't a time for retreat. We're all trying to save money. We're all working in very hard times. So be brave. Come to the table with us. Charter schools have some flexibility that you don't. And hopefully we can find some ways to save all public schools some money.
Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you. I just want to first acknowledge the support from the Charter Office, the Special Ed Office, Superintendent's Office, Dr. Folker. We really appreciate, over the last couple of weeks, just the discussion and the acknowledgement of sort of the last-minute nature of this change. And there are many questions that have come up, so hopefully I'm not going to walk through the whole handout that you have in front of you, but I want to point out some relevant pieces. So first, you know that charters have two options. They can operate as a school of the district and receive their services from the district, or they can leave and become an LEA for special education and a new SELPA. When a charter school operates as a school of the district in San Diego Unified, they generate $1,622 per pupil for the district. So you'll see on slide, I believe, 4, over the last few years where this option of leaving the district has been available to schools, 29 charter schools have left San Diego Unified to join another SELPA. If we had an arrangement that allowed those charter schools to stay within San Diego Unified based on the state and federal numbers and the fair share contribution, it would have generated an additional $24 million for San Diego Unified. Now, those schools are already gone. We're not advocating for them to come back. But if you flip to the next slide, you'll see that if we are able to come up with a successful arrangement that keeps charter schools here in San Diego Unified, that will generate, based on our current numbers, an additional $4.5 million for the district per year. So I'm flipping on. On the next slide, there's been a number of questions about what does it look like? What does that revenue generation look like for a charter school if they leave and join another SELPA, for example, the El Dorado SELPA? So on the chart that says fiscal comparison, we compared the revenue that's generated to the district if they are here in the district versus the revenue that's generated if we come up with a new option that keeps them here and keeps the district happy and the charter happy, and then what the revenue generation is for that charter school if they were to leave. We honestly don't think that it would be too painful to come up with some options that worked for both the district and the charter school. And like I said, we have already heard from the special ed office and the charter office that they are interested in engaging in those discussions, and we appreciate that, and we appreciate the movement, the support in those discussions and then reporting back to you. The last piece I want to point out to you is we have been involved in this type of arrangements in other areas of the state. The biggest effort we put out was in Los Angeles Unified. The piece that is important to know about Los Angeles Unified is that the goal was to make sure more kids with disabilities ended up in charter schools. That's why we did that reorganization. A year and a half later, we have a 33% increase in kids with disabilities in those member charter schools. The reorganization, with the goal of getting more kids in charters with a broader range of disabilities represented, after 1 year, and I know it's just 1 year, it's proving successful. So in closing, just want to support that our two requests are, one, just a flexible implementation plan, and then second, that we appreciate the support and would love the opportunity to engage further in this discussion and have the opportunity to report back some options. So thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, we have one other speaker, Patty Saranero.
Good afternoon. I'm Patty Saranero. I'm the board president at San Diego Cooperative Charter School, and I'd like to build on Dr. Wendy's comments. Thank you for agendizing this item about special education fees. As Dr. Wendy said, last fiscal year we did plan for an increase in special education fees for this school year, and we budgeted accordingly. So we were a little surprised on October 22nd to get the email that said we would be spending over $100,000 more this year. This increase is part of a larger and problematic picture for us. The fees we pay to the district for special education are one of the largest pieces of our budget. Yet our staff struggles on a regular basis to get appropriate and timely services to meet our students' needs and our schools' compliance requirements. Further, our principal has little voice or input into staffing our special education positions. We're asking that charter school principals have the same right as district principals to choose from the post and bid lists when identifying staff for their schools. We pay into the same SELPA, and yet there appears to be some discrepancies between charter schools and district schools. As the board of SDCCS, we are stewards of public funds. In that stewardship, we must ensure a high-quality education for all of our students, and we are committed to a meaningful workplace for our staff. But our stewardship is greatly challenged when we cannot account for our exact special education costs, nor can we easily access the necessary services. We request that district staff meet with the affected charter schools to discuss short-term fee flexibility, as well as the long-term issue of the charters remaining with the SELPA. We greatly appreciate your present and continued attention to this matter. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to say we have a motion on the floor, and just to re-clarify, the motion is to defer to December for, state it again, please.
Yeah, it would be to defer the implementation of this particular fee, of the SELPA fee, until the December, first meeting in December, and I'm hoping that there can be some discussions between the district and the charters, and more importantly, there's a lot more information I need to understand how we come to determine the cost of these fees. I realize there's a lot of other fees that don't want to interrupt the billing cycle and cash flow, so they would only affect this fee. And that's the proposed motion.
So basically, for the staff and the charters to have time to discuss this, and for the board to get further information, that we would discuss it in December.
Yes, sir.
Richard.
Yeah, I support the motion. Just want to get a brief comment from the superintendent about the any potential consequences of the deferring the decision. However, what I would like to do in December is not only I support not only moving the collection of these fees to December, but I support coming back to the board with some recommendations that are done in dialogue with the charter school community about alternatives, to our current system. I mean, we had this conversation several months ago about developing an alternative SELPA, and I think there was consensus from the board at that conversation that we wanted to move forward and we wanted to see an LA-style system, potentially here in San Diego. So I'd like to move that conversation forward as well, so that when we come back in December, we're talking about, how do we deal with the immediate situation in terms of these fees, but we also talk about the creation of an alternative system to move forward. So
we want to add that to the motion then? Is that acceptable?
Yes, we'll add to the motion that the staff will explore, come back with timelines on potential alternatives, and hopefully some joint recommendations with the charter community and staff for us to address.
Yes, Mr. Kova.
I understand, and certainly want to support what the board is directing. I would say this, first and foremost, let's try to come up with remedies for the fee changes. And I already know that we've had a couple of meetings, there are more planned. I think the larger SELPA issue, we can begin that conversation, but the next couple of weeks are also caught up with some other first interims, some post-election analysis. But let's have the team work together and give you an update on, one, the remedies for this fee abnormality that's happened, and then the start of the discussion about the SELPA alternative. If I could
I think
two of them.
It's I understand absolutely, Superintendent. I just want to, so we don't have to take final action on something at the meeting in December. However, I would like to move the conversation because I think we have started it. So I think it's just.
I guess just to be clear, why I'm continuing this is Right now, I am not comfortable with the information we received as to why the fee was increased. And I'm also not comfortable that we have a clear accounting of how we come to our costs for increasing the fee. So before I'm willing to support a fee increase, I need to understand exactly why we're doing it and a breakdown of how we've come to our cost on those. And then if it's, acceptable, then I would to cut, because we need to cover our costs. That I understand, and I'm not suggesting we don't.
And I think that's important in terms of understanding, of course, the impact on charters, but also the impact on the district.
Absolutely.
I mean, the explanation that we've seen is that there's been, a decrease in enrollment, a decrease in revenue. So, what's the overall impact to both the charters and the district, and how do we deal with this? So,
it's very clear that we need a lot more information all around. Okay, please vote on this motion. Okay, that passes 4-0. Motion to for the board consent agenda.
Move approval.
Second.
Okay, please vote on the board consent agenda. And moving on to the position establishment and classification changes for Legal Services Division, Superintendent Koba. Oh, excuse me, I made a note and I forgot. Thank you. Before we move on to that, we have reached 5 o'clock, and so we'll interrupt the regular portion of the meeting now for non-agenda public testimony. And do you have any additional persons for public testimony, Ms. Ward? Okay, so we have 3 people, Francine Maxwell, citizen, and Jim Varnador. Okay, is Francine Maxwell here? No. Okay, citizen is here. Go ahead. This is for non-agenda testimony that we're working on in the middle of the meeting. Okay.
I want to speak to the issue of VIBA, which is a middleman that is procuring health insurance for district employees of the San Diego School District. VIBA needs to be removed from employee contracts. This board passed up that opportunity to save taxpayer money by eliminating VIBA when the contracts were opened. Other government entities do not have a middleman in procuring health insurance. VIBA is costly and unnecessary.
Okay, thank you. And Jim Varnador is also not here. Oh, Francine Maxwell is here. Okay.
Can you give one to each? Francine Maxwell, community member, Area 1. I stand before you on behalf of the student. She handed me a copy of her transcript. And she has a 1.88, she has a 1.84, and she's at a crossroad. She couldn't believe that a counselor making over $90,000 didn't help her. She was never put into summer school. She's in the 12th hour now of being able to get into Apex. And it's ironic and sad for me because San Diego Unified, over the past few years, you've prided yourselves in being advocates for a learning environment. Just take a look at her core classes. If this matter continues to go unaddressed in my community, this board should be at a crossroad relative to integrity and ethics. On numerous occasions, I've shared with you that at Morris High School, there's a leadership team made up of teachers only, not all stakeholders. So if you don't have all voices at the table, things will never change. You can never expect a new result with the same activities happening on an underserved campus. What are we modeling for children and youth with a transcript like that? I can bring you hundreds, I'm sure. But this student here, she's screaming for help. If you allow this to go on, I'm embarrassed. The core values of honor, courage, commitment. Where is the honor in permitting an individual to continue on a campus like this? Where's the courage in this board not speaking up for our kids and safeguarding the moral compass? Where is the commitment to the greater good? Our mission statement, we want every child. And this is somebody that's being raised by their grandparents, has siblings up under them, so they have to make sure that siblings up under them are cared for. But in closing, I'm asking this board, on a day of change, some of us will still be here, Some people won't. But the board needs to correct some things that's going wrong on this campus. And I do believe that you know that I have some world-class teachers on that campus, but the population is worse than what is being reported to this board. I hand you something right there, and that counseling department should be screaming for help. I guess that I have to wait for you to coach them. I have to wait for you to write the 25 pages. But this is a slap in the face to my community that a baby has a 1.88, 1.84, but I can almost guarantee you that she'll walk or he'll walk. Children there in our community are crying for help, and on this day of change, I hope that we begin to move forward and work for them.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now we will move to item F2, the position establishment and classification changes for the Legal Services Division reorganization. Superintendent Koba.
Thank you, President.
I just want to move approval of this item.
Second.
Okay. Go ahead and comment.
I was just going to defer to the board if there no need for discussion. I know you were briefed, and
let me see here for public. Let me stop here for public comments. Do you have any, Ms. Ward, besides what I have here? Okay, let's just go to that. Yes. Okay. Okay. First of all, Ruth Peshkoff. There we are.
Good evening, esteemed members of the board, President Evans and Superintendent Koba. I'm Ruth Peshkoff. I'm the Executive Director of the Administrators Association. My executive board asked me to come before you this evening to register the association's extreme concern with the reorganization of legal services at the present time. I'd like to preface this by saying that the department is staffed with many fine individuals whom we value and who have been longtime associates and friends of mine. This is not personal, but today, as we wait for the outcome of what happens at the polls, we are possibly facing an absolutely cataclysmic economic disaster for our district. It simply is not the moment in time to increase any expenditures until we can really take a look at what is the system going to do if mid-year triggers need to happen. We have, the members that we represent have all taken on a lot of additional duties, so have all of the other bargaining units in the last several years. I don't think you will find anyone in this district who is still fortunate to still have a job whose responsibilities have not increased tremendously. While we can appreciate that legal work does work very hard, it's extremely difficult to justify a reorganization in which every member of the staff is recommended for an increase except for one. That person who is in our bargaining unit would be demoted to the OTBS unit, but would receive 18 months of salary protection, so there's no savings in that. In addition, the position that's being eliminated, which purportedly would be some savings, has not been staffed for several years. So we're puzzled as to how a lot of work can be brought back in-house with the same number of staff, and why that would necessitate an increase in payment when it's the same type of work. As a compensation and classification expert and an HR expert, that does not justify reclass. It must be predicated on increased duties. Thank you.
Citizen.
This item should not be on the agenda. The superintendent and the deputy superintendents should have reviewed this and said this is not appropriate at this time to be simply changing titles of jobs, which is going to produce raises for all of these employees. This is gifting taxpayer money when you hand a job to a person just because they have it right now. In the County of San Diego, if we felt that our jobs had changed significantly in the duties and it became a new position, that person didn't get that job automatically. It was opened up to all of the members of the public that qualified for that new position, and they had to compete for that new job. So before you asked for a classification change, you needed to be very sure that you were qualified for that other job, because there was no guarantee you were going to get it. Last year, the legal office tried to get a raise for one of its lawyers, and the board did not approve that raise. I hope that the board is going to follow suit with this proposal for reorganization. Just arrogant that they would ask for raises in a time like this.
Okay. Do you have any further for this item? Yes, Bill Freeman.
Good evening. I'm Bill Freeman. I'm the president of San Diego Education Association. And I'm here to speak against this reorganization for a number of reasons. Right now we have hundreds of members out there pounding the streets, precinct walking, trying to make sure that we can bring sufficient funds to this school. We've had students out with the governor. I mean, just a number of actions going on. I think the timing is bad for this. I think it sends the wrong message out right now. We don't know whether 30 is going to pass. We don't know that. But yet we are creating a division where we are giving everybody a raise during these difficult times, during some of the worst financial times in the history of this country. I don't think that it's logical to do. I read the justifications, and it said the changes would save money because it would prevent work from going outside. It would stop the contracting. If that's going to be done by the staff that we have in that department, why isn't that being done now? Why was it necessary to ever send that out? If you could do the things that you were contracting out, why were you contracting those things out? I realize that we all want a raise. I realize that, and I don't argue the fact that the legal department deserve a raise any more than I argue the fact that the nurses and many other people in this district deserve raises. But I do think that it sends a wrong message to our community. At a time that we can least afford, we can hardly afford who we have, that we are giving raises. And I understand here and there you're going to have to do that to keep good people. I understand that. But there is never a time, and especially now, to create a division department or whatever it's called where everybody is getting a raise. That's unheard of right now and unprecedented, and I think it's inappropriate. Thank you.
Mr. Freeman, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Now, you're aware, of course, that in our budget we have about, this year, $17 million of step and column raises for employees across the district. You don't object to those going ahead?
I don't object to those going in. Those have been in that budget. Okay. They were bargained in that budget. And they were put there at a time that times were decent, and the educators, those individuals that are getting those, backed away when they realized the district was in trouble. Now the district's in trouble, and financially, just as most districts are, but to take and give an entire department a raise right now, I don't think it's appropriate. I just don't.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, that concludes what we have for public testimony. If there aren't any further
I'd like to make one
comments.
additional comment, and I made this to Mr. Shanke in private, so I want to make sure stay in public, that the world is possibly going to change drastically tomorrow for this district and many districts. And we are facing severe consequences in this year and future years. And I told Mr. Shanke that nothing will be off the table as far as I'm concerned. Every department, as far as reductions in personnel, given the fact that if the ballot measures don't go well tonight, that we're looking at shortening our school year by 14 days this year, which is absolutely unacceptable, and we need to fight for every dollar to maintain that. So, but on the other hand, this reorganization was not just brought up. This is part of a result of a process when the specific change of classification for one employee was brought forward some 6 months ago, and this has been a lengthy, detailed reorganization of this department to make it function better. And while individuals will receive different salaries and increases, outside of the $17 million of raises we're giving across the board to most district employees, the department itself will not be spending any more than in its current budget. It's revenue neutral for this year. Thank you.
Okay. Please vote.
I can't support this motion at this time because I feel that this sends the wrong message from this board and from the central office and this district. We don't know what our budget picture is going to look like until maybe tomorrow or next week. And while I wholeheartedly agree that to keep quality individuals, we have to have competitive salaries. However, the problem that I have with it is that by reclassifying everybody in the legal department, we're really giving them some pretty substantial pay raises. And I'm not sure that right now in this moment of uncertainty, that's the best time to do it. I mean, because if Prop 30 fails, all of our teachers and staff and principals are going to be taking a pretty substantial pay cut. And so I just don't think it's very consistent to be giving pay increases to one department in the central office, while on the other hand, depending on the outcome of Proposition 30, we might be asking every single employee that is in a classroom to take an 8% pay cut. And I'm not sure that that's consistent. Maybe we ought to wait until after we know the outcome of the election before we visit this item. I mean, so, you know, while at this point in time I can't support it, I would be more than happy with more information and the results of the election to revisit it down the road when we have a better idea of what our budget looks like for next year.
Okay. Any other comments? Okay. Ditto. Okay. Please vote. Okay, that passes 3-2. Let's move on to item F3, the public bid opening for the resolution, the intent to sell Camp Elliott. Is there a motion on this item?
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Comments by board members? There's a public hearing. Okay, so we will open the public hearing for anybody who wants to speak on this item regarding the intent to sell Camp Elliott number 3. Okay, seeing none, that closes the public hearing.
Ms. Jackson, she had 5 more minutes.
Okay, so continuing right along at our same pace, that we will now
Got places to go.
we will now proceed. Is there any more comments on this? Okay, Superintendent, anything? No. Okay. Okay. Okay, please vote. Okay, that passes 4-1, which is the required 4 votes. And then we have another one, which is a public hearing resolution to dedicate the City of San Diego on an easement on district-owned property. These are the traditional. Okay, these are basic easement. Excuse me, we have a public hearing on the easement, which is probably for a power pole between the sidewalk and the school. I'm not sure exactly. Okay, no public comments. Okay, call the question then. Okay, moving on. That's passes 4-0, right? 5-0, excuse me. Getting used to 5. Okay. 4-5. Now we go to item F5, the real estate additional costs and resources to complete the request for proposal. This is related to our plan for long-term real estate. Is there a motion on this item?
I move approval, and it's the understanding that as part of the whole RFP process, these costs would be recovered through the additional leasing or sale of properties.
Okay. So there's a motion. Is there a second? There's a second by Ms. Jackson. This does not require 4 votes, so it's safe to go ahead and vote while Mr. Barrera is absent. Okay, that passes 4-0. We'll now move on to item G2 to amend the joint use agreement with the City of San Diego.
It was continued.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, that was continued
to November 27th.
That was continued to November 27th. And now item G2, just amending the Dana joint use agreement. And on this item,
maybe I'll just make a quick comment.
Yes. Basically to allow us to continue our negotiations with Wells.
The board also should see there's a revised motion in your brown folder, and I put copies up there for the public as well. First of all, it's important to know that our ball fields, our playing fields, all our districts are public property. They belong to the taxpayers. They don't belong to a principal. They don't belong to a school board. They don't belong to a coach. They don't belong to a team. They belong to the taxpayers. The first responsibility of all those fields, of course, is for the use by our kids in school, the sports teams and school teams. The second responsibility, whether or not properties are in joint use or not, because we are covered by the Civic Center Act, is to make sure that the public the public has an opportunity to use these facilities, whether it's recreational leagues for children, adults, etc. The third option is for us to then potentially make income on some of these properties if there are competitive leagues which do occasionally lease and use our fields, soccer fields, and so forth. But that is the third option. So I want to, in the motion that I made to proceed with this, as we have been have the opportunity to potentially create a significantly improved resource for the district and the kids. And in having discussions with the council member of the city and on this issue as well, it's my belief that the best way to proceed with this and to ensure that the priorities are given first to our school kids, but at the same time that all members of the public have an opportunity to use their facilities, that we proceed with amending the joint use agreement and take this portion out. At the same time, I'm recommending that because there are legitimate concerns by the broader community to make sure that they can use these facilities, that we also, in the motion, besides directing staff to move on with the city to amend the joint use agreement, to direct staff to form an ad hoc field usage task force, including community sports stakeholders, to within 60 to 90 days develop a protocol to ensure equitable field usage by schools, youth leagues, and community sports leagues for all district sports facilities. The recommendations of the ad hoc field usage task force will come back to the board for review and implementation. And so that would be part of the motion, and I wanted the board and the members of the public to know that that would be included in the request. Thank you.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second the motion. And
I
then
have a question.
Yeah.
And I apologize for not asking sooner, but you're asking that we remove the baseball field from the joint use agreement. So then who is responsible for the baseball field? Is that just solely the district?
The district, and then the usage will be determined by the district, but part of that is to create this task force to make sure that we're meeting the needs first of our students, obviously, and then the broader community, to make sure there's a fair and equitable use. There have been, and it's no surprise to this board, across our district, some concerns raised in some sports fields as to whether or not the public has had appropriate access at times. And on the other hand, some concerns by our sports teams to make sure that they can meet the needs of the kids, which is our primary need. So part of this gives us an opportunity to have a larger discussion with how we're going to effectively manage these resources in order to make sure they meet our kids' needs first, but also understand that these are taxpayers' resources, and taxpayers have a right to use them as long as they're treated appropriately and with care. So, long answer to your question, yes, the district will be responsible for issuing permits for the use of the field, and under a protocol, revised protocol that this board will review and adopt after task force meets within the next 60 to 90 days.
Again, Mr. Barrera.
Yeah, I support the motion. Really, three primary reasons. One, as I understand it, we've got one or more individuals that are actually trying to donate money to help improve the field, and that process has been made difficult, I guess, by the fact that we're under a joint use agreement on this particular field, and I guess the city's process is a little bit. I mean, if it's unfair, but my understanding, the city's process has gotten in the way a little bit of that, and so this might allow us to. To accept a donation to improve the field. So that's one reason. If staff wants to comment on that.
Well, I think it's fair to say that if we do have a donation of the facility and perpetual maintenance, which is we need part of this, it would be much easier to have that agreement with the district and the person versus the district and the city and a third party. Right. It just makes it more complex. And this way, the agreement would just be with the district and all that. Yeah.
The other two issues that I think Mr. Barnett have raised, one is we want to make sure that the field continues to be available for community use. So, and what we're doing here is we're approaching the city and asking to amend the agreement. I mean, that's the city. Will have a discussion with us about whether. But it sounds like Mr. Barnett has talked to the council member in this district. But I think there's certainly the intention that the field would maintain its community use as well as obviously be available to the use of our students and to the district. So, but that needs to be. I think we need to be clear about that community organizations or individuals that currently use the field, we have every intention of allowing that to continue to happen. And third, I think the idea of the task force is important. I mean, I do believe we've got protocols in place within the district in terms of when any entity wants to use the field, that it has to come through the district, and we've got to go through a process of approving that decisions about the use of the field are not simply subject to staff at a particular location. But I think the task force should review that, make sure that we're tight on that so we don't have these situations that unfortunately we've seen where certain individuals seem to be on their own either renting out the field or approving the use of the field, and it's not, and we're not, it's not coming through the district. So yeah, that would be.
Okay, and I just want to reiterate what Ms. Barrera was saying, that the reason Mr. Barnett is bringing this forward is actually to facilitate a donation and an improvement to a facility that is going to be continued for community use, and so this is one way to facilitate that process. So I support that. Now, after hearing these comments, if these individuals want to continue, go ahead and speak, please feel free to do so. We have several people, so please limit it to 2 minutes maximum. Mike McKetty, Daryl Davis, Byron Ware, Michael Patton, and Peter Azar. You can all each come and speak for a couple of minutes, or you can forego it if you feel comfortable with the comments by the board.
Hi, I'm Pete Azar, and I have 2 boys that go to Point Loma, a third that will, and right now I do a lot of work on the field trying to maintain it, keep it up, and make it nice for spring when baseball comes around, and then maintain it all year. And it's just, I'm not sure exactly the questions or what you want to know, but typically we have a lot of work to do on the field, and it would almost be easier if we could just do it ourselves. because sometimes there's other groups that play on the field, and I'll show up on a Sunday trying to get it ready for the kids to go play on Monday, because we have kids during the off season from Mission Hills, 2 little leagues in Point Loma, and even the Mission Bay area, and even Coronado that come to our field to play during the week, pretty much Monday through Friday when school's not, and I'll show up on Sunday to try and get it ready. I have a construction company. We do foundations and things, and me and my guys will come out and we'll work on the field, kind of just donate our time. And we'll show up and there'll be a guy driving around with his truck on the field, and it just causes more work for us than we need to have, where if we could just maintain it little by little ourselves, believe it or not, it would actually be easier on us. And we'd be cleaning up after the kids and not cleaning up after, other botched attempts at working on the field or use of the field.
Okay.
And basically, I just work on the fields, and we're totally capable of maintaining them really nice for all the kids.
Okay. Thank you.
That's it? Thanks.
Yep, that's it. Okay.
My name is Daryl Davis. My kid has graduated from Point Loma High School, but I was on the board for 6 years and 4 years officer. And the last year, in 2012, I was a president. So I'm here in case you need to ask any questions, but to remind this group that Point Loma High School has substantially less land than any of the other high schools. And this is why we're in this situation of trying to get our baseball field. And when you're a baseball nut, like some of us are, what it takes to do a varsity competitive program, that kind of maintenance on a field, if you look at all the other fields that no one else is doing these shared uses and stuff, and it's really a conflict. And some of the other users might say they maintain, but they don't come close. And I feel like if you need any questions, I've watched Pete Azar, lucky we have him for 3 years, but the maintenance by the players, you got to remember, after each game, there's 15 to 20 players out there. They're each putting a half an hour of work on it, and that is equivalent of about 10 hours of work real quick, whereas some of the other users that get to use it put 1 hour of work on it, and it's just not equitable. And it causes us more work, as Pete talked to. So I'm here I've watched the countless hours of the volunteers and the materials and the cost of labors go in and out of our booster program. And I can answer that side, give answers to that side of the thing. And please support the request so that we can get these donors that really want to put some serious money in this, so we can be competitive and keep a rich tradition. And I think Scott's going to work with us to allow responsible use of the field by different people. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Scott will be out there working on the field about 2 hours per week.
I will not in any way ever be responsible for assigning who uses the field when. I think all those requests go to the president of the board.
We'll see.
Good evening. Members of the school board. I'm Byron Ware. I'm the former San Diego City Council member for District 2. I have a long history with Dana, going back to my days on the planning board and trying to save the site from the bulldozers back in the 80s. More recently, I've been a member of the baseball boosters since my son Campbell went on to UC Santa Barbara on a baseball scholarship. I've had a lot of interest in this field and have been working with Scott on the issue. I support the recommendation that Trustee Barnett has put before you. I think there's no question that this property is school district land, and you are the appropriate body to manage it. We've grown beyond that. For those of you that are not baseball nuts, Point Loma High School has the distinction of having 2 graduates that went on to pitch perfect games, both Don Larson and David Wells. And both Don Larson and David Wells have come out for fundraising activities and been very supportive of the program. So we think we have a good plan here, and I have the confidence in Trustee Scott Barnett that he's going to work through this issue, and we're going to have a good result that's going to really put Point Loma High School baseball and maintain that legacy. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Scott Barnett, for docketing this item today. I'm Mike Patton. I'm here on behalf of Councilmember Kevin Faulkner, who represents this area out in Point Loma. I'll just be real quick. Councilmember Faulkner believes this is a great opportunity to build a world-class ball field here in our Point Loma community. He supports the creation of the ad hoc task force to ensure that everyone in the community has a voice in how this public field is used. And pending today's vote, he looks forward to continue working with the City of San Diego to amend this joint use agreement. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, one more person.
Good afternoon, President Evans, Superintendent Koba, Scott. Thank you for having me today. My name is Mike McKaylee, and I'm speaking to the G2 issue that we're currently on. I'm speaking for the San Diego Adult Baseball League, and I guess one could say that we are on this side, and to some degree, some folks in the school are on this side, but in essence, we're not. We all have the same goal in mind, and that goal in mind is to, number one, is to get these funds from David Wells, because we believe as an organization that this is a tremendous opportunity for this baseball complex. It would mean a lot for the community, it would mean a lot for the kids, it would mean a lot for everyone. The San Diego Adult Baseball League, ladies and gentlemen, we've been operating as a community organization for 26 years in San Diego, the longest. We're also the largest community baseball league in the entire country. We started this 26 years ago with 20, 30 men between the ages of 18 and 70 years old that wanted to go play baseball again. They wanted to be children once again on a Sunday afternoon. And since then, we've grown to almost 100 teams of men wanting to do the same thing. We have people from 18 again to 70 years old, including myself at over 60, that all week long, all we do is live to play baseball on Sundays because we just can't grow up. Now, when it comes to Dana Center, we have been renting Dana Center for ever since it opened up many years ago, and we've been going through the city. We pay our fees to the rec center, to the city. We do what's proper, and we take care of the field. A big issue on the field, which I agree completely, is the maintenance on the field. As these gentlemen stated, the integrity of this baseball field is huge. We use other San Diego Unified School District fields, such as Crawford and such as University City and such as Madison High School and such as Hoover High School, and we do the same process. After the games, we have people that rake, we drag, we fill in the holes, we tamp, we water, we pick up the trash. We do everything that we're supposed to do after the 2 games a week. And again, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about 2 games a week we play, not 6 or 7. So we support this amendment as it is, and we support the opportunity to have a group to decide who is on the field. We just don't want one person to make that decision. That's very important to us. Let's put together this task force, and we think it can be a win-win situation.
Okay, thank you very much. Any further board comments? Then please vote on this item, Mr. Barnett's motion. Okay, and that passes 5-0. And it is now 5:40. We are concluding our meeting in 1 hour and 10 minutes. Thank you very much.
Great job.
Have a nice evening.
All right.